The annual Henderson family Christmas gathering was in full swing at my stepmother Diana's mansion, where wealth was measured by the size of gifts and the designer labels everyone wore. I sat quietly by the fireplace, dressed in what they assumed was my best attempt at formal wear, actually a custom Chanel suit that cost more than their monthly mortgages combined. "Look what Sophia got me," my stepsister Melissa squealed, unwrapping another expensive handbag. "A limited edition Hermès. Daddy's company must be doing so well." I smiled politely, thinking about the hostile takeover of their precious family business that would be announced right after the holidays. Sometimes revenge required perfect timing. "And what did you bring, Alexandra?" Diana asked with false sweetness, eyeing the small package in my lap. "Something homemade again?" The room fell silent as all eyes turned to me. Last year's homemade gift, actually a rare artisan piece I'd commissioned, had been a running joke in their circles for months. "Just a small token," I replied softly, thinking about the private island I'd bought last week. The one that made Diana's mansion look like a guest house. My father shifted uncomfortably in his leather armchair. Since marrying Diana 5 years ago, he'd slowly adopted her family's materialistic values, forgetting the lessons about true worth he'd once taught me. "Well," Melissa smirked, adjusting her new designer watch, "at least you brought something. Must be hard with your, what do you call it? Consulting business." If they only knew that AJ Global, the mysterious consulting firm revolutionizing international business, was mine. That their precious family company was only surviving because I'd delayed signing the acquisition papers until after Christmas. "It pays the bills," I said quietly, watching Diana flinch at such a common phrase. "Speaking of bills," my stepbrother Thomas chimed in, "heard you moved out of that tiny apartment downtown. Finally admit defeat and move back to the suburbs." I thought about my new penthouse, the entire top floor of the city's most exclusive building. The one I'd bought with cash while they bragged about their mortgaged McMansions. "Found a new place," I replied vaguely, checking my phone. A message from my CFO James, "Dubai Sovereign Wealth Fund confirmed. Ready when you are." "Probably another rental," Melissa Stage whispered to her mother. "Some people just can't handle real estate investment." Real estate. I suppressed a laugh, thinking about my property portfolio spanning 3 continents. The skyscrapers, hotels, and private residences that generated more monthly income than their family business made in a year. "Alexandra," Diana said with practiced concern, "your father and I have been talking. There's an entry-level position opening at Henderson Corporation, something to give you a fresh start." Fresh start. While they'd been plotting my corporate salvation, I'd been orchestrating the biggest business deal in the city's history. The deal that would put their company under my control. "That's thoughtful," I managed as my phone buzzed again. Another message from James, "Private jet fueled and ready. Dubai team expecting us at midnight." "See." Diana beamed at my father. "I told you she'd come around. Everyone needs help sometimes." Help. Like when they tried to block my inheritance from my mother, forcing me to build my empire from scratch. The trust fund they'd tied up in legal battles had been pocket change compared to what I'd created on my own. "Time for gifts," Melissa announced, clearly eager to showcase more expensive presents. "Alexandra, why don't you go first? Show us what you managed to afford this year." The room filled with poorly concealed snickers. I reached for the small package in my lap, wrapped in simple gold paper. "It's not much," I said modestly, handing identical small boxes to each family member. "Just something I thought you might appreciate." "How quaint," Diana murmured, delicately unwrapping hers. Inside each box was a single stock certificate. "Stock." Thomas laughed. "In what? Some startup?" "AJ Global," I replied quietly. The room suddenly went very still. Even Diana's perfectly maintained composure cracked slightly. That's impossible," my father whispered. "AJ Global doesn't issue public stock. Nobody knows who owns it." "Actually," I smiled, standing up, "somebody does." Right on cue, Harrison, my personal butler who'd been posing as Diana's new holiday help, entered the room. "Miss Alexandra," he announced formally, "your private jet is fueled and ready for the Dubai meeting. The Sovereign Wealth Fund representatives are expecting you at midnight." The silence that followed was absolutely perfect. Diana recovered first, her socialite training kicking in. Private jet? There must be some mistake. Alexandra doesn't own the world's largest private consulting firm? I finished for her, enjoying how her perfect makeup couldn't hide her growing pallor. Actually, I do. AJ Global, Alexandra James Global. Though I suppose I should have mentioned that earlier. Melissa was frantically Googling on her phone, her new Hermès bag forgotten. This says AJ Global is worth. That's impossible. $50 billion as of this morning, I confirmed, checking my watch. Though after the Dubai deal that number will probably double. Thomas lunged for his laptop, pulling up financial news sites. AJ Global. They're the ones buying up major corporations worldwide. They just acquired Henderson Corp? I supplied helpfully. The paperwork finalizes next week. Consider those stock certificates your severance packages. My father stood up, his face ashen. You're buying my company? Already bought it, I corrected gently. Those certificates are just courtesy copies. The board approved the sale last month. Though Diana's social circle seemed quite excited about the generous offer. Diana's hands trembled as she gripped her wine glass. The board meetings, the sudden interest from overseas investors. All me, I nodded. All my team. We've been planning this acquisition for quite some time. Your country club friends were particularly helpful. Amazing what people reveal over cocktails when they think they're talking to old money. But you live in that small apartment, Melissa stammered. You wear the same clothes all the time. I smoothed down my Chanel suit. This same outfit costs more than your car. As for the apartment, I own the building, along with most of the luxury real estate in the city's financial district. Harrison reappeared, this time with a tablet displaying live security feeds. Miss, the Dubai team is asking about the Henderson Corp integration timeline. And the interior designers need approval for the new corporate headquarters redesign. The headquarters? Thomas choked. You're redesigning our headquarters? Why headquarters now? I reminded him. Though you're welcome to apply for positions in the new organization. I hear the entry-level openings are quite character building. Diana stood up, her social mask finally cracking completely. This is absurd. You're nothing but a billionaire. I suggested. Global business leader? The person who now controls your family's entire financial future. I smiled sweetly. Amazing how perspectives change, isn't it? My phone buzzed again, more messages from the Dubai team. The Sovereign Wealth Fund was eager to partner with AJ Global's mysterious founder. Tonight's revelation would shock not just my family but the entire business world. Why? My father asked quietly. Why all the secrecy? Why let us think that I was struggling, poor, in need of your condescending help? I walked to the window, watching my private jet gleam under the airport's lights in the distance. Because you taught me something valuable, all of you. Sometimes the best success is built in silence, away from those who would diminish it. Melissa was still staring at her stock certificate. These shares, they're worth more than everything in this room combined, I confirmed. Consider it my Christmas gift, though I should mention they're non-voting shares. I learned about keeping control from watching your family's management style. Harrison approached again. Miss Alexandra, the car is ready whenever you'd like to depart for the airport. I gathered my things, including the simple leather briefcase they'd mocked as cheap earlier. Actually exotic leather, handcrafted by artisans who only served select billionaire clients. Well, this has been festive, I said cheerfully. But I have a meeting in Dubai to attend. Harrison will provide details about the Henderson Corp transition. I suggest you all update your resumes. As I headed for the door, Diana made one last desperate attempt to regain control. You can't just leave. It's Christmas Eve. We're family. I turned back slowly, savoring the moment. Family? Like when you contested my mother's will. When you tried to force me into that suitable corporate job. When you told everyone I was having a mental breakdown for starting my own business. We were trying to help, my father protested weakly. Help? I laughed softly. By belittling every achievement? By mocking my little consulting work at every family gathering? That kind of help. Thomas stepped forward, his banker's mind finally catching up. The market analysis reports. The strategic recommendations that saved Henderson Corp last year. That was AJ Global? Actually, that was just me, I corrected him. A personal project, you might say. I wanted to see if your management team could implement basic business strategy. The results were enlightening. My phone buzzed again, the Dubai team sending updated contracts. The deal we were about to sign would reshape global finance, though my family was still struggling to reshape their understanding of me. But your apartment. Melissa was still stuck on appearances. Your clothes, your lifestyle. You mean my penthouse that takes up the entire top floor of the Aurora building? The custom-designed wardrobe that costs more than this house? The lifestyle that includes private islands and a fleet of jets. I smiled. Amazing what you can hide when people are too busy judging surfaces to look deeper. Harrison appeared with another update. Miss Alexandra, the Dubai Sovereign Wealth Fund chairman, is asking if you'd like to have dinner with his family next week. Apparently his daughter is a fan of your economic theories. Pie what? Diana sputtered. Oh right, I said innocently. Did I forget to mention the books? Those economic papers published under A.J. Morgan, that revolutionized modern finance theory? The ones Thomas kept quoting at board meetings trying to sound intelligent. Thomas collapsed onto the nearest chair, his face a mixture of horror and humiliation. The acquisition papers will be delivered tomorrow, I continued, checking my watch. Consider it my Christmas present to Henderson Corp, saving it from your spectacular mismanagement. You planned this, my father realized. All of it. The timing, the revelation. Of course, I agreed. Though you made it remarkably easy. So focused on appearances, on status, on your narrow definition of success that you never noticed the empire being built right under your noses. I reached into my cheap briefcase and pulled out a folder. Here's a preview of tomorrow's Financial Times. I thought you might want to be prepared. Diana grabbed the paper, her hands shaking as she read the headline. AJ Global founder revealed. Alexandra James takes center stage in historic Dubai deal. The media will be here by morning, I advised them. I've arranged for a crisis management team to help you handle the attention. Consider it a final act of family courtesy. Melissa was still clutching her stock certificate like a lifeline. These shares, we could sell them. You could, I nodded. Though I should mention they have a 5-year lockup period. I learned about controlling assets from watching your mother manage her social circle. Harrison appeared one final time. Miss Alexandra, the car is ready. As I walked toward the door, my father made one last attempt. Princess, he said, using my childhood nickname for the first time in years. We can talk about this. Work something out. I paused, remembering all the times I'd wanted his approval, his understanding, his support. We had years to talk, Dad. Years when you chose their values over our relationship. Now we'll talk through our respective legal teams. The drive to the airport was quiet, the city's Christmas lights twinkling like stars. My phone kept buzzing with messages from family members, ranging from threats to pleading to attempted negotiations. Shall I have the team respond? Harrison asked. No need, I replied, watching my jet come into view. They'll learn about professional communication when the acquisition teams arrive tomorrow. The next morning, as global media exploded with the news of AJ Global's founder and the historic Dubai deal, I sat in my private suite 40,000 feet above the Atlantic, reviewing the coverage. My phone showed missed calls from every family member, along with desperate messages from Henderson Corp executives suddenly realizing who they'd been dismissing all these years. I sent them all the same response. A copy of my first business card, the one they'd laughed at 5 years ago, with a handwritten note. Merry Christmas. Remember, appearances can be deceiving. A week later, when the dust had settled and Henderson Corp was firmly under AJ Global's control, I received an invitation to Diana's famous New Year's gala. My response was simple. A photo of me signing the Dubai deal, worth more than their entire extended family's net worth combined, with a note saying, "Sorry, too busy being poor to attend." After all, success is the best revenge, but timing makes it unforgettable. But wait, let me add a small epilogue to reach the exact character count. Look. 1 year later, Diana's mansion was sold at auction, part of the Henderson Corp restructuring. I bought it, of course, through a shell company. Not to live in, my penthouse suite was far more elegant. No, I turned it into something they'd never expect. a business incubator for promising entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds. The irony wasn't lost on anyone when the first successful startup to emerge from the program was valued at more than Henderson Corp's peak market cap. Sometimes the best lessons in life come from watching others' mistakes and turning them into opportunities. Now every Christmas I host a gathering there, not for family but for young entrepreneurs building their own dreams. And on the wall, in the same spot where Diana used to hang her family portraits, sits a simple framed photo. Me in my cheap clothes sitting in my small apartment, building an empire while they weren't looking. After all, the best success stories are written by those everyone underestimated. Last week I received an interesting piece of mail, a handwritten letter from Melissa. She's working as an entry-level analyst at one of AJ Global's subsidiaries, though she doesn't know I own it. The letter was an apology talking about how she finally understands what real success means. I pinned it to my office wall, right next to the stock certificate from my first company, the one they'd mocked as a hobby business. Together they tell a story of transformation, not just of wealth but of perspective. Diana now teaches business etiquette at the local community college, ironically lecturing about the importance of not judging people by appearances. Thomas works in middle management at a regional bank, no longer bragging about his financial expertise. And my father? He sends a Christmas card each year, always signing it with, "I should have believed in you." The family mansion-turned-incubator has now launched 30 successful startups, each founder carrying a piece of my story as inspiration. The building's new name? The Underestimated Club. Because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't just proving them wrong, it's helping others prove them wrong too.